Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start today, may I please ask all of you with your 5 fingers, as I would like to start with a game called Never Have I Ever. Many of us have played this game before, but in case you haven't, please don't worry. You'll get it once we go through the questions. The first question comes to, please put a finger down if this is your first time attending a live TEDx talk. Okay, it's also mine. The second question, please put a finger down if you've ever felt uncomfortable standing on a stage. Me too. The next question, please put a finger down if you've ever felt too nervous to speak up for your opinions or ideas. Me too. And now, please put a finger down something because you're afraid that you fail. I had to do that too. And here it comes to our last question. Please put a finger down if you've realized that one day you can inspire the others. Thank you so much for playing this game with me, ladies and gents. For some of you who've only put 1 or 2 fingers down, congratulations. You have some qualities many of us truly desire. But if you're like me, having most or even all of your fingers down, I still have some good news for you. All these contradictions actually exist at the same time. And that's exactly what brings me here today. As right now, I'm on stage, which is something that I've never thought I could do. I'm sharing my ideas. I'm facing my fear of public speaking. And maybe I'm here today to light up a small spark in one of your minds and hearts. I'm someone who've always struggled with sharing my thoughts in front of the others. Even answering a question used to overwhelm me. Growing up in Asia, what classrooms meant to me was it was never really about dialogues or discussions. And our teachers prefer one-way teaching so much more than having us freely exploring our ideas together. And this is actually closely related to a concept called uncertainty avoidance, which describes how comfortable people are with uncertainty and change. Basically, the unknowns. In cultures with lower uncertainty avoidance, people are more open to having new ideas or taking the risk. But in cultures with higher uncertainty avoidance, like many parts in Asia, we care so much more about fitting in and following the rules. And growing up in a system like this, all I have in mind is that standing out, or simply by having a different opinion, makes me feel weird. As if I've done something wrong, and this has made me started to doubt myself. I remember when I was 8, I had to perform an English poem in front of the class, and with all this little eyes staring at me, I started shaking on stage. I was just saying whatever I can remember, hoping to get this done as quickly as possible. But afterwards, I have this very mixed feeling inside of me. I was angry at my performance, kind of embarrassed, and I was very disappointed at myself. And that was the first time I was not just afraid of something. I hated it. I hated how small I feel, and I hated how all my efforts and preparation became nothing because I got overwhelmed on stage. And that moment has drawn some boundaries around me. Some boundaries that I thought they were my protection. As for the longest time, I've avoided anything that is related to public speaking. Whether during a presentation, joining debate team, or even in a group discussions, I stay as quiet as possible. But then one day in high school, I was thinking, if I actually want to become a leader one day, I cannot let fear have so much control over me. And that's when I took a couple of small steps. First, I joined an English poetry competition, hitting straight at my fear. And afterwards, I joined a speech contest. But I'll be very honest with you, this did not make my fear of public speaking disappear overnight. But I remember, for both times, I tried my best, even though I was still shaking on stage. And for both times, I walked away having a lot of what ifs in my mind. What if I wasn't so nervous? What if I was more prepared? What if I just walk in with more confidence? But if I could talk to myself back then, I really want to let her know that there are not so much what ifs in our life or in growth. The only thing we can do is to understand where did our fear came from and getting ready for what's coming ahead. The main idea I want to share with you today is that fear is not darkness, but some unfocused light. As when we try to run away from our fear, they and make themselves seem so much bigger than they actually are. But if you're willing to work with it, you see that your vision become clearer and focused with it. Every time I push myself out of my comfort zone, I never actually defeat my fear, but I work with it. Even now, my heart still pounds this speech, but I've learned that nervousness was not a weakness. It's a proof that I care. It means I value the audience that's listening, this message I'm conveying, and this exact moment I'm in right now. There's a lot of time when we confuse the concept between fearlessness with bravery. In Chinese, we have a newborn calf is never afraid of tigers, which means that when someone has no experience, they simply have no fear. As fear is something we learn from our mistakes, our experience, and everything life has put us through. But bravery is a complete different concept. Being brave means knowing exactly what intimidates you and still choosing to tackle it, not because it was fun, but because I know once I get through this, I walk out this door better and stronger. Courage and fear, they don't cancel each other out, but they coexist. And in fact, there is no courage without fear. And this is the kind of light I want to talk about today. The kind of light that does not only shine on our best parts, but also through our most vulnerable parts. Illuminated mind, it celebrates the sparks that guide us, whether it's insight, creativity, or discovery. But these sparks, they often ignite in the dark, whether it's our failure, in confusion, or in our fear. The greatest minds, let's say scientists, artists, or heroes, if we think about it, they were not fearless, but they simply refused to let their fear to keep them from who they could be. And for me, the greatest mind who shaped me into who I am today, and from whom I first understand how bravery looks like, they are not any famous scientist or artist, but they are indeed my heroes. They are my parents. Both of my parents, they came from family of farmers, which means that there was a peaceful, quiet life waiting ahead of them. But that was not the type of future they wanted. They wanted something very different. So as teenagers, before they even know each other existed, they make this brave yet crazy choice. They left the village where they grew up in with nothing and moved to a city that is full of opportunities and competitions in order to fight for the life that they wanted. And because of the decisions, my brothers and I had the privilege to grow up in comfort, possibilities, and indeed, a very bright future. My parents, they may not have had many educational opportunities, but there's one thing they always insist on: investing in us by offering us the best, to make sure we don't have to take the same difficult path they took. And whenever I heard of their stories of being newcomers or immigrants in the city, there's two things always in my mind. First, how hard that must have been, as making a decision at that level means leaving your family members, giving up everything you've built and all your supports, and throw yourself into a place where everything becomes a challenge. From fitting in, to finding work, to feeding themselves. These are actual obstacles they've been through. And the second thing, what if they hadn't been brave enough to make that decision? Where would they be, and where would I be? Since I was a kid, my mom has been telling me the same thing over and over. She said, "Own can one day be stolen, but knowledge is the one thing no one can ever take away from you." I genuinely grew up with this. This shows you how values knowledge and continuous growth instead of money or status. And with her belief, this is how my mother has not only built her entire life, but also ours. Not through fearlessness, but through bravery and resilience. From her, I've learned that courage is not something that we're born with, but something that we gain from fighting for what we truly desire. And once we've understand this, our next question becomes, how do we transform fear into something we can work with? And this was I came across this interesting research by a Harvard researcher, Miss Alison Woodbrook, where she found when people reframe anxiety as excitement, we perform so much better in public speaking, interviews, or even singing in karaoke. As anxiety has been keeping us in a threat mindset where we keep focusing on what might go wrong, whilst excitement has shifted us into an opportunity mindset where we focus on what might go right. So by simply saying, I'm excited, instead of, I'm nervous, we switch our brain from defense mode to discovery mode. Fear is not a wall blocking our way, but a mirror reflecting what truly matters to us. Let's say today you're afraid of failing. That's because you care about succeeding. Otherwise, you won't even bother what could happen. And I'm someone who's afraid of people's criticism. That's because I care how other people sees me, and I value these connections. Whether we like it or not, fear points directly at things we value the most. And as someone who's constantly worried about people's judgment, there's this one book called The Courage to Be Disliked. And there's one quote that changed the way how I hear all this noise. It said, "No one is my enemy. People are my comrade." And that made me realize that none of you here in the audience today wants me to fail or is here to judge me harshly, as all of you are my companions, having your own fear, listening to my stories, and we're supporting each other through our own battles. And isn't this the beauty of illumination, when we share our lights to illuminate the other's paths? If there's anything you can take away with my talk today, I hope you remember these 3 steps to work with your fear. First, to find out what you're afraid of and understand why. There must be something valuable underneath your fear. Second step, it might be a scary one, but stop running away from it, as avoiding fear only gives it more power and make it grow bigger. And the final step, I hope you change the way you see fear. Stop seeing it as an enemy, but as a tool to work with. Do not see it as a shadow, but as some sparks in our life which guide us to our goals. And please remember, when we embrace our fear, we don't just light up our own path. We also help our companions to see theirs too. So I hope you take these steps, let fear walk beside you, and with us all together, let's keep illuminating this world, one trembling, brave, beautiful mind at a time. Thank you.